And what is up, boys and girls? It's your pal right here, the one and only Black Avenger, aka the Black Azrael, Lee Sanders, coming at you with a special DVD review for the one and only the Randy Savage story. That's right, baby. Macho Man. Oh yeah, digging it. Coming up right now, our DVD review for this, so stick around.
Alright, boys and girls, so here we are, getting ready to talk about the Macho Man Randy Savage story. Hey, as always, we appreciate great feedback from you guys, especially from those of you that had checked out this great DVD. If you did, make sure you post those comments down below. If we have enough comments, we'll definitely follow up on a future episode of the RCWR show, most likely our radio edition. You can check out all the links in this episode description, as we're on a lot of various platforms. So check out the links in this episode description. Make sure you like this, share it a number of ways by Facebooking, Google Plusing, retweeting. As always, it's one of the many ways you can spread a good word about our content. And of course, as always, if there's a DVD you'd like for us to review, post those comments down below. You can also hit us up on Twitter at the RCWR Show or Facebook at Infinity One Productions. You know, when I think about this DVD, one thing that really comes into mind, or two things rather, a lot of time, a lot of respect in really telling the story of Macho Man Randy Savage, making sure that it's done in a very tasteful and respectful way. And that's really what was radiating from this a lot throughout the course of the DVD. I actually ended up getting the Blu-ray copy of this. I actually went to FYE, where I was able to get this on sale for $24.99. It was either that or drive for about 25 minutes to a Best Buy. I probably could have got a Blu-ray copy for about maybe $19-21 and some change or whatever, but FYE was the closest to me after I got off work, and I said, let me just grab this, because I really didn't want to be doing all that zigzagging around. And one thing that I thought was very interesting, though, while I was at FYE, and I'm not sure if it's available elsewhere, but at FYE, they had a box set, Macho Man, the Randy Savage story, and it was like this steel type of box set. It had Macho Man on the front cover, but he was kind of like, I can't think of the right term, but it was kind of like a three-dimensional pop-out like of what you see here. You can actually touch it and all that. It was kind of cool. And what made the box set interesting was not only did you get the new DVD of the Randy Savage story, but you also had got 2009's the Ultimate Macho Randy Savage collection. I think it's called, yeah, it's called WWE Madness, the Randy Savage Ultimate Collection. It was like a 3-disc set that had came out, where pretty much it was just a compilation of matches that was presented to you by Maria Kanellis and Matt Striker. Some really kind of felt that they really shouldn't have been on there, but they really did show that they had a great love and appreciation for the Macho Man. So it's actually kind of tolerable to some. I mean, after all, when it's all said and done, you're not getting it because of them. You're getting it because you wanted to see the matches and all that. Some felt definitely disappointed that there wasn't a documentary piece to go along with that Ultimate Collection. But in either case, the box set, it includes this new DVD that we're getting ready to talk about. It includes what came out in 2009. You get yourself a t-shirt. Doesn't specify what size the t-shirt is, so you're kind of taking a little bit of a gamble right there. And you get a bandana and a pair of Macho Man shades. So you're looking at about $90. That's the sale this week. If you try to get it after this week, I think you have to pony up like about, I think they want like maybe 110 $115 for it, you might be able to get a much lower price. Even though it's $89 right now this week, you could probably get a lower deal if you look for those items on eBay and all that. So don't be so quick to jump on it if you see it at FYE or elsewhere. But getting back to this DVD, a lot of DVDs have come out from the WWE this calendar year. Paul Heyman definitely at the top of my list. I have to say, Macho Man, the Randy Savage story is a sure lock in for number two as far as best WWE DVDs of this year. And I don't want to give a whole lot of stuff away with regards to this DVD. I only want to talk about key things. One, I like how WWE went about talking to his brother, his mom. They also had talked to people that grew up knowing Randy and everything. And I love the humbled beginnings of how originally he wanted to have a career in baseball. Seemed like that was his calling, that was his passion. And you thought that the way he played, he was going to make it to the major leagues, but it just seemed like fate would not have that go down, as three times he tried to do what he could to make it into the major leagues. It didn't happen, and after the third time he was just so frustrated. He actually had took his bats home, went to the backyard of his home, took out the bats, and he just broke them on a tree. He just kept hitting the tree until the bat splittered in half. And his whole thing was, baseball is done with me. I'm now done with baseball. And he went to his first passion, his first true love, which was wrestling. And the backdrop that they gave to his father and all that, I thought that was very insightful. It was very, very informative. I really had enjoyed it. As from there, you hear about his journey as far as how he started off all small and scrawny, and like once he decided he wanted to go into wrestling and he was going to take it very seriously, just the hard dedication, the time, the energy, just the overall effort that he put in to making sure that his body looks that of a wrestler. And you learn from everybody, including his family, that Randy was just a perfectionist in everything that he did. He didn't just do a half-ass job. He didn't just do 100%. He went out there and he gave 150, and he tried to give that 150% on a consistent basis. And true little funny story that I thought was pretty badass. When it came to some of the territories that was happening Mid-South and all that, with Jerry Jarrett and Jerry the King Lawler and all that, the way that Macho Man had his contract set up with one baseball team that he was playing with, there was like this weird stipulation that was put in there that said he could not do any type of other sporting events. He couldn't participate in any other type of sporting events. And wouldn't you know, this guy, he would put on a mask and he would wrestle a couple of times as a guy named the Spider. I don't know how many of you were aware of that. It immediately had jumped to him arriving in the WWE. His feuds against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat at WrestleMania 3, where they got thoughts from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and he just said, of all the matches I've had over the years, I must have had about maybe at least 6,000, maybe a little bit more. To this day, I still have fans that walk up to me and they go, "Hey, you, Randy Savage, WrestleMania 3, Intercontinental title, that was the freaking match." And of course, that whole little rivalry that was going on there is just regarded as one of the best for Macho Man, definitely for Ricky Steamboat. And he got pretty choked up and emotional as he was talking about that program that he had with the Macho Man. You could still tell that, even though it's been 3 years and counting, he definitely still misses him to this day. He actually had said towards the end of the DVD how he wished so much that he had the opportunity to catch up with Randy one more time, just to be able to kick back and just talk about each other, just find out what's going on, what has been going on in each other's lives, things like that. Just catch up and all that. To his WrestleMania 4 match against the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase. I'm sure you guys remember that, as it was for the vacant WWE Championship. You guys remember that match. And then WrestleMania 5, when he took on the immortal Hulk Hogan for the championship belt. They also had talked about how the whole deal with Slim Jim had came together, and how thanks to Macho Man, the sales just boost like by 20%, some ridiculous percentage it had boosted, but a large part of that was thanks to the Macho Man Randy Savage. They also had talked about his relationship with Miss Elizabeth, and I really like the way that they had handled it. A lot of stories was told as far as what ended up happening with Miss Elizabeth and the Macho Man. As you'll find out on this DVD, on the one hand, you're hearing from Jimmy Hart, you're hearing from Dusty Rhodes, you're hearing from Mean Gene Okerlund, how Macho Man would basically have Miss Elizabeth be in the dressing room. She'd have her own little dressing room, and she would basically be in there by herself, and he would make sure that she would stay locked in there. Basically, some people kind of felt that he was being a bit too overprotective of her and trying to make sure that she wasn't in a position where maybe she would kind of mingle with a wrestler or whatever. You hear the stories about what goes on the road, and trying to stay faithful and all that can be a little bit tricky. But, leave it to his brother, Lanny, to say, on the contrary, that's not what my brother was doing. He wasn't being insecure when it came to Miss Elizabeth. His whole mentality was, look, I don't want to have any type of silliness go down, because I know what it's like. I've been on the road enough. No, we're not going to have any type of silliness going on, not on my watch. Just because of the strong work ethic that he has and the true perfectionist that he is, to the point that it was funny how Ricky the Dragon Steamboat had talked about their WrestleMania match, and like Macho Man, he goes, okay, so look, we're gonna do this. I have it all written down. We're gonna start with a lockup, and Ricky's like, of course we're gonna start with a lockup. What are you talking about? Come on, we got this. But Randy, the perfectionist that he is, would tell him, no, I have it all written down. And like, you just see like the sheets and sheets and sheets of paper with numbers, 1 lockup, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 100 and something moves, just pages after pages. And whenever a move was missed, just in general, Randy is just one of those type of people that will just kick himself in the ass because he wants it to be perfect, But some people felt that he had insecurity issues when it came to Miss Elizabeth. Other people felt otherwise, that he was just trying to make sure that she didn't get caught up in all the backstage politics and all that other stuff. Some felt that he definitely was a bit insecure when it came to his spot. Because he felt that he worked so hard in getting everything that was coming to him, that it wasn't a case where he didn't want to share his spotlight with other people. It was just more so of the fact that he wanted to make sure that he continued to have his spot and everything continued to be on point, because he felt that he was doing so much for the company. And when you think about how long Hulkamania was dominating in the WWE before Macho Man Randy Savage had came along, you can't help but say to yourself, whether some of you all want to agree or not, that Macho Man Randy Savage, he was the face of the WWE at one point. Love it or hate it, and there's a small percentage of folks that disliked his time as the WWE champion. But everything would eventually culminate in Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man splitting up. She actually had decided to leave him. It would set up the divorce, as you all know, that have followed the career of Macho Man. And he was definitely in a very dark period for a while. He actually had took a year plus off to just get himself in order, and when he did come back, he wasn't quite ready to get back in ring action just yet. So instead, he had went on to do color commentating with Vince McMahon, and from there he also had embraced being a WWE ambassador. And one thing you had learned about was his love for kids. Couldn't really tolerate the adults like that, that wanted autographs, things of that nature. But when it came to the kids, he just had this nice twinkle in his eye. He was just so energetic, so respectful, always gave his time, energy. Didn't matter what day it was. When it came to kids, he was always just so warm and receptive to them. It didn't matter if they were sick or not. He just loved being around kids. And, it's quite sad when you think about it that he never, before he left this earth, it's sad when you think that he has no children. There's no next generation of Randy Savage kids running around. Kind of sad when you think about that. But he went through that period where he was doing the color commentating. There was a point where he still had the itch to wrestle, but what he wanted to do was get away from color commentating, wrestle one more time, and then go back to color commentating. And the one guy that he wanted to work with, the one guy that he wanted to try to put over, is the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And he came up with this great, elaborate program where he was going to be feuding with Shawn Michaels for like about 2 years. And basically it would end with a WrestleMania where Shawn Michaels would finally get the upper hand, and it would basically force Randy Savage to go back to color commentating. And when he laid it out to the powers that be in the WWE, they basically said, yeah, that's a pretty good idea and all, but we got this whole new WWF new generation thing going on. You're getting kind of up there in age. We just want you to do the color commentating. And ultimately it would set up his departure from the WWE. Not talked about on this DVD. I made sure there was no Easter eggs and all of that, no extras. What was not talked about on this DVD was the supposed, maybe intimate relationship that was happening between Macho Man and you know what? I think I might have my guys mixed up. I hope. I'm gonna stop right there, but I'll let you guys marinate on that one. But I'm sure a lot of you guys, I know I'm talking about Macho Man. I got my guys right, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so he went to WCW, and even at that, he always had a chip on his shoulders because he didn't appreciate how WWE had did him and everything. And at that point, it was just all about proving that he could still go out there, he could still entertain. Of course, one of the best rivalries that he had while he was in WCW, while he was there, was working with Diamond Dallas Page. Diamond Dallas Page, he does appear on this. He had nothing but very kind, good things to say about Macho Man, especially stressing the fact that both of these guys were in their early 40s and they were still able to go out there and put on one hell of an entertaining program for the fans. So much so that PWI, they had gave it the award, I think in 1997, for best rivalry of the year. Of course, shortly after that, Macho Man, he would get injured. He'd leave WCW for a little bit. But when he came back, he realized that he had to adapt with the times and all that he had to update himself a bit. So he came out, started pushing the whole slick back ponytail look, switched up his gear, came out with ladies and all that. And you guys that follow WCW, you know the rest of that and everything. But also what was covered was his hatred for about 9 years with the immortal Hulk Hogan, and why those two weren't able to see eye to eye. Hulk Hogan definitely had chimed in his thoughts on 1 minute they're cool, next minute they hate each other. He talked about that. He was very brutally honest when he was talking about it. And of course, after WCW had folded, and I believe that was 2001, you saw a lot of stars that were in WCW come on back to the WWE. Macho Man was not one of those people. He still remembered how WWE had did him, especially with the cheap shot that Triple H had said in a magazine. Put on top of that, the whole smear campaign that WWE was doing with Macho Man and the Hulkster, and Macho Man, he said no. They disrespected me. I'm not going back. No, forget about it. From there, he tried to move on with the next phase in his life. Of course, major devastating blow in 2003 when Miss Elizabeth had died. Lex Luger, he did chime in his thoughts with regards to that, but they had said that really just had put Randy Savage in a very, very dark spot. But it's kind of interesting how everything would just kind of come full circle for Macho Man, because when he was doing his whole thing with baseball and all that, there was a really nice girl that he had came across in high school, and he just got to a point where once he was done with baseball and he decided that he was going to get into wrestling and all that, unfortunately, I believe now he ended his relationship with her. And wouldn't you know it, decades later, the both of them would end up together again, high school sweethearts. She went through divorce, had a couple of kids. He went through what he went through. They found each other again. And it was like they were kindred spirits, just meant for each other. And they would get married. And of course, as we all know, 1 year later, and kind of sad when I really think about it, because I was actually watching this with my girlfriend, and she said, "Holy crap, he actually died on my birthday." I said, yeah, he did actually. May 20th, 2011. Messed up way for him to go out. The Hulkster, he actually had chimed in on something I wasn't even aware of before. I know a lot of people are probably going to be talking about it on their own respected shows or whatnot, but Macho Man, unfortunately, he had a heart attack while he was behind the wheel with his wife, and he sped off the road, hit a tree, and all that, and the Hulkster had said that like a couple of weeks later or whatever, he had went to go see his doctor or whatnot. I think it was the same doctor that was treating Macho Man's mom or whatnot. My mind's just a little bit fuzzy, so forgive me if I don't really have it accurate enough. But one thing I do vividly remember, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right to you guys. I'm like 90% sure that what I'm saying here is accurate. But the Hulkster had talked about how the doctor had said to the Hulkster the same test that he was giving the Hulkster. He was saying, this is the same test that I had gave to Randy Savage's mom to check on her heart and everything, because she wasn't feeling right, and I was trying to get Randy to do the same test. It was only going to take 10 minutes, and because I was trying to find out if it was hereditary, and if it was, then I was going to do what I could to let him know about it, and basically he would probably still be alive today if he would have taken that test. And the Hulkster, when he heard that, he was just mind blown over that, and you're kind of like, wow, that's pretty messed up, but we can only speculate. Now, couple of things I noticed about this DVD that just kind of had me scratch my head and kind of go, well, that's interesting. One of the things that jumped out at me is the fact that Vince McMahon does not appear on this DVD. And one of the things that's definitely covered is Vince McMahon and Randy. They had a very close relationship. They were buddies. Randy would go to Vince McMahon's house all the time and all that. He would spend a lot of time with him in Stamford, even on his days off. He would be doing everything he could to learn everything about the business, and Vince was right there, willing to teach him. He was like a father, a big brother, a friend, everything rolled up into one. So I found it a little bit odd, especially given the fact that you had that whole smear campaign go down with Macho Man and the Hulkster, I find it odd that Vince McMahon didn't appear on here to say, well, in retrospect, was it right for us to do that type of smear campaign that we did? No, it wasn't. But I was just going off of the emotions that I was running on at the time. This is how I felt. I felt to a certain extent that Randy had betrayed me. He betrayed the company by going over to work for WCW. I was expecting something like that since it was kind of brought up anyway. I was expecting for Vince to make an appearance, but he did not make an appearance. Triple H, to some extent, I was expecting for him to maybe pop up and just be like, yeah, the statements that I made in the magazine, honestly, I think it was taken out of context, or maybe he could have manned up, accepted responsibility, but on the contrary, no Triple H appearance, all right? No Stephanie McMahon appearance. Another thing that I thought was kind of like, well that's kind of interesting, is just the fact that you had an opportunity right here for the McMahons, for Triple H to just really try to make peace, not just with the family of Macho Man, but try to make peace with the fans that maybe feel as though WWE didn't try to do right by Macho Man. Just the fact that you have the opportunity to do that and it's not taken, it just really kind of makes you kick back and go, what's going on here? But at the same time, the argument could be made that maybe the family did not want to have the Triple H's, the Stephanie McMahons, um, the Vince McMahons. Maybe they did not want them to make an appearance on this DVD. And if that's the case, then hey, I'm all fine for it. But it does kind of make you raise your eyebrow just a little bit. But other than that, I would say for the documentary part, they did an exceptionally good job. I really had appreciated the fine detail, the great respect that they tried to put into telling this story. And unfortunately, we'll never really be able to know how Macho Man's brain really clicked. We'll never really get the opportunity to get to know the man behind the costume, behind the nice pretty robes, the jackets, the shades, the hats, the catchphrases. We'll never really get to know the real man. And it's unfortunate. It really is. To be here in 2014, no Macho Man, no Miss Elizabeth, very, it's kind of sad. It really is. Another thing that I thought was interesting was the widow of Randy Savage, his high school sweetheart who he would go on to marry. She did not make an appearance on here, and I'll definitely give her a pass because maybe she is still in mourning. I mean, it's only been 3+ years and counting. Maybe she just did not want to participate in this whatsoever. And I can understand where she's coming from. After all, she did get divorced. She had 2 kids, and then she finds Randy again, and then she only loses him a year later. That's a lot to take. That is a lot to take. But great DVD. Match wise, as far as what's on here, I can definitely tell you guys real quick. So on disc 1, after the documentary ends, you got Macho Man Randy Savage taking on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship. It's on an episode of Superstars. Looks like that goes back to 19... is that 86? Looks like it's 86. And then you got Macho Man taking on... Looks like Bruno... Is that Bruno Sammartino? Yeah. Bruno Sammartino. Yeah. Macho Man Randy Savage takes on Bruno Sammartino. Boston Garden. You got Macho Man taking on Randy Savage. That's in 87. Macho Man taking on Harley Race in Philadelphia. Macho Man versus... Oh, actually, correction. Macho Man teaming up with Strike Force to take on the Honky Tonk Man and the Hart Foundation. Macho Man taking on Ted DiBiase WWE Championship match at the Boston Garden in 1988. That's followed up by him taking on Bad News Brown, January 1989, Maple Leaf Wrestling. Taking on the Hulkster for the WWE Championship, Madison Square Garden. Disc 2, you have Macho Man taking on the Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. Macho Man taking on Shawn Michaels, WWE Championship match, Germany, 1992. Macho Man taking on Ric Flair for the championship belt, Hershey, PA, 92. That's followed up by him taking on Arn Anderson, WCW World Television match on WCW Saturday Night, 1995. Macho Man taking on Ric Flair for the WCW World Heavyweight title inside of a steel cage match, 1996 at Super Brawl 6. And Macho Man Randy Savage taking on Diamond Dallas Page is your closer. Las Vegas Sudden Death Match, Halloween Havoc, 1997. Got some great exclusive Blu-ray matches that includes 1, 2, 3, 4 bonus matches. Looks pretty good. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. And some bonus stories that you all might find very interesting. Scale of 1 to 10, I definitely give this a solid 9. I definitely recommend you all pick this up. So pick it up when you guys get a chance. Once again, if there's a really cool DVD you'd like for us to consider for reviewing, post those comments down below. You can also find me on Twitter at the RCWR Show. I like to stay connected with you all that are subscribed to us here on YouTube, and I think the best way to be able to stay connected to you all is to use social media such as Twitter or our Facebook page at Infinity One Productions. That's Infinity with an E. Put the actual number 1 in there. Infinity One Productions to infinity and beyond. Make sure you give us a like and a follow on there so you can always stay connected with us, as we always try to do our best to stay interactive. And not to mention, we always do a little bit of breaking news for you guys and all that. But definitely get out there, check out the DVD when you all get a chance. You will not be disappointed, I promise you guys. And that is going to do it. We got some more great content lined up to review in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, stay connected. If you're not subscribed to us yet, love to have you subscribe so you never miss out on all the great content we do for you on a weekly basis, whether we are breaking news, doing reviews, or having some very laid back and insightful interviews. We do a little bit of everything, so make sure you subscribe to us. That's going to do it, boys and girls. Wishing all you all to be safe, and most importantly, please be kind to one another. Everybody, take care.